Welcome to our second fantasy football draft of the year. Again, I am in the 8th position. If you haven't seen the last time I drafted from there, then check out my other video. But it's looking good. I love the 8th position. We're likely going to get a good wide receiver. But last time we ended up with falling Jahmyr Gibbs. I doubt that will happen this time. We're looking for a falling wide receiver in the first round. In the second round, maybe Derrick Henry. In the third round, we're looking for Kyron Williams. And in the fourth round, we're looking for a quarterback or tight end. So that either being George Kittle or like Jaden Daniels, one of those guys. This draft starts off with Jahmyr Gibbs, who we got at the 8th pick overall last time, being picked third. Saquon, a run of running backs after Jamar Chase was taken first. Still CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson on the board. Could get interesting. I doubt they'll fall to us, but it's still a good chance if they do to get a really, really good wide receiver. Other than that, I'm looking to maybe get Amon-Ra St. Brown or Puka Nacua. So I know I'm going to get one of those 4 wide receivers at this point. The question is just which one. Taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Saquon, I can understand that, but honestly, personally, I would rather have the 2 wide receivers that haven't been picked over both of them. Barkley and Jefferson are the only ones I would consider switching, but Jahmyr Gibbs, he just isn't that high up for me just because of the injury to David Montgomery and how that impacted his season as a whole. It may have made him get quite a bit more fantasy points than he would have if David Montgomery were healthy. And if David Montgomery is healthy, you're going to see him get a lot less third down work. Puka Nacua, one of the only couple of guys I would take over Derrick Henry. But I think that Puka Nacua probably won't fall to me. And if Derrick Henry does, that's a very strong pick. Christian McCaffrey goes off the board. It's been a couple of runs here. We started off with a wide receiver, and then 3 running backs, then 4 receivers, and now we're back to running backs. We picked Amon-Ra St. Brown just because I felt that he was the best player available. Puka Nacua was also a good pick, but I went with St. Brown just because he has a higher floor, and we've never seen Amon-Ra St. Brown with somebody like Jamo before. I mean, Jamo's going to be a big threat to the defense. They have to pay attention to him a lot more this season. Could have a breakout season, which could distract the defense from Amon-Ra St. Brown. While with Puka, they now have Devontae Adams, who very well could take the starting job from Puka. I didn't mention that Lamar Jackson was already taken, but I guess if you want him, you have to take him that early if you're 10th, because you're probably not getting Lamar at the 310. And T. Higgins, wow. 2 very interesting picks. Last time we had a team that picked Brock Bowers and Tyreek Hill. This is looking like sort of the same thing. Puka Nacua goes right before a pick. So now we'll get Derrick Henry, and we have a good balanced 1 wide receiver, 1 running back setup. Next, I want to look for a running back because I like to have 2 good running backs in fantasy football drafts as opposed to having maybe a guy like Isaiah Pacheco who's still good, but like you don't really want them as your running back too. Whereas last year, I was more like, I'll figure it out at running back. just get me some good players elsewhere. Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Nico Collins, and Bucky Irving. A lot of running backs flying off the board, with the exception of Nico Collins. We already have a 2 wide receiver team and a 2 running back team. Brian Thomas Jr. goes off the board. Still, a lot of reaching. Lamar Jackson and T. Higgins definitely threw that off. Same with Bucky Irving. So that means that there are guys like maybe Drake London or A.J. Brown who are still available, who maybe they shouldn't be at that level. Same with both of the tight ends being available, which will make the dynamic of the draft a little more interesting because these tight ends could potentially fall the teams back at the 204, 205, 26th pick in the third round. They probably won't fall to me because the teams right before me will probably pick them up. But then again, there are still guys like there are still plenty of running backs. Like Jonathan Taylor just went. I believe Josh Jacobs is still there, which I mean, if he came back to me, that would be a miracle. If Jay Brown goes off the board, they're probably going to take a running back or tight end here. You might see a 0 running back. Ooh, this might be a potential 0 running back, as they have Brock Bowers now, 2 wide receiver and a tight end. If they got like maybe Joe Burrow or somebody at the 410, that would be interesting. Or again, they could just pick running back, running back, running back, and make up for not picking them earlier. Or like running back, receiver, quarterback, and just try to make up for that, and then maybe a running back in the ninth. Waiting to see what they pick here. They picked a tight end, and that could be very interesting. And they could sort of go for like no wide receivers in the first couple of rounds. And then when there's a high density of receivers, they could go like 4 receivers in a row and then pick up a quarterback later. Or they could take a quarterback. But they don't decide to do that. They go with Lad McConkey. That's an interesting pick because Drake London is still on the board. But most of these players who are currently falling, like Drake London, Trey McBride, Chase Brown, they're probably not going to fall to us. They'll probably all be gone, and we'll end up with a guy like Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Kyren Williams. But you never know who could end up on your team. I'm hoping that we get a running back or Josh Allen here. I think Kyren Williams could be a great pick, but we got to wait to see what the other people will do here. I'm not quite sure who I really want as of right now because I don't know who's going to be gone. And these people are taking their time, so we'll see who they take. 3, 2, 1, and moving a little bit faster. Chase Brown and Drake London both off the board. So we're left with Tyreek Hill as our first option. Kyren Williams or Josh Allen. I would be happy to get any of those guys. But looking ahead, coming back at 48 and 33, could get some good guys there. But I'm not really sure here. I feel like these are all great players and you could justify taking any one of them. That 48th pick is going to be interesting because could get a guy like Mike Evans, who I think could be a lot better. DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, one of those guys could fall. But yeah, just going to take the safe pick and Josh Allen and hope that Amari Hampton or Kyren Williams falls to me. If they do, that would be great. If they don't, oh well. But I think Kyren Williams or Amari Hampton. I think that Kyren probably won't fall because he's the first running back. James Cook goes before him. Could mean that we get him, but I think both of the quarterbacks will go, 1 and then 2. But the question will be, will Kyron be taken as the other guy in these 3 picks? It would be really weird if they didn't take these quarterbacks, because I feel like maybe Tyreek Hill, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts all go, and I get Kyron on my team. Nope, he goes first. Okay, so now will Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts both go, and I get Tyreek Hill or Amari and Hampton. Either of those guys is good. Who did they take? Didn't quite catch that. Kenneth Walker. Okay. We're on a run of running backs. Amari and Hampton's still available. And wow. Okay. So Amari and Hampton, George Kittle, all these guys are options. The question is, who do I really want? I don't really want 2 of the onesie positions, so I'll go with Amari and Hampton. But that would be funny if I were to get a quarterback and a tight end early, and then one of each of the other guys, and just try to find everyone else later in the draft. That'd be interesting. George Kittle almost fell to me in one of my other drafts at the 48 position, which you can go check out that video if you haven't. But that that draft was crazy. He will not this time. He will go almost a round earlier than he did in the other draft. Garrett Wilson, Alvin Kamara. Don't need Joe Burrow. So we're looking at a bunch of running backs. I'm not that high on TreVeyon Henderson, as I've said in previous videos. I just feel like around earlier, Amari and Hampton is definitely the better choice. And TreVeyon Henderson, I would pick him if he were going in like the 5th round, but he isn't, and that's a problem. If he were going in the 5th round, that's the point where I really start to consider him as late 5th round. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are, but I would much rather have a guy, even like Tedoroa McMillan or Jameson Williams. They are both great players who will command a lot of targets this year as either the wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 on their team. Joe Burrow goes Alvin Kamara, TreVeyon Henderson at the 4:10. It's a bit early for me. I'm not a big fan of that pick. Would much rather get James Conner and Alvin Kamara there. But, you got to do what you got to do. Joe Burrow goes off the board, and they'll probably take a receiver here, and the next team will probably also take a receiver. So if I didn't already have all of these guys, I would take Chuba Hubbard, but he won't follow me. Instead, I'll get Mike Evans. I really like Mike Evans. I think I would take him over Metcalf and Harrison. Yes, I probably will. Just to make sure who's lower. It's like Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, Devonta Smith. Don't really need a third running back, so yeah, I'll take Mike Evans. He can be my wide receiver too. I got him as, I believe, my wide receiver too in another league with JSN, and I got a bunch of people really early. I got my quarterback and 2 running backs early. I got JSN, and then I just ended up with Mike Evans, Jameson Williams, and George Pickens, I think. I'm not sure who that last receiver was. It was my wide receiver 4. Not quite sure. But they're all good. DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison both go. Couple of receivers in a row. Both of the Chiefs receivers went pretty early. That's interesting. I don't like either of them a lot. I would much rather have, honestly, any of the other receivers that were picked in that round. Just because I feel like Rashee Rice, the suspension, Xavier Worthy, he didn't really prove himself as much as I would have liked in his rookie season. Meanwhile, all these guys, Mike Evans may have a little bit of injury issues. DK Metcalf will be guarded by all the best cornerbacks, but still, Marvin Harrison had a disappointed rookie season, disappointing. But he's still an elite talent. And I would much rather have an elite talent who had a disappointing season than somebody who's a little bit worse than him and had also had a disappointing season. I'll probably get my flex spot here. Sam Laporta went off the board. I mean, in the next round, I'll get my flex spot probably. That, or I could get a running back who I could put on my bench maybe. But I think that there are just so many receivers that one of them has to fall to me. But yeah, I'll take Jameson Williams here. And I think one of the receivers could fall to me here at the 68th pick. I would love that. That would be great. All of these guys are receivers, so one of them has to fall to me. I could get a guy like Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco, who is still the lead running back to help out my bench. And then get a guy like David Njoku, Evan Engram, who's falling into the potentially the 10th round. Or I can get Tyler Warren or Tucker Kraft. TJ Hawkinson. The tight ends do seem to be going a little bit earlier in this draft, but the thing about the tight ends going early is that that means that other skill positions will be falling, like Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield. That's reasonable. Last draft I had, they were a round up, where it starts to become like Patrick Mahomes over Joe Burrow. At that point, you're just doing it for having Patrick Mahomes on your team. You're not even doing it as much for skill, because Joe Burrow is on a better offensive team, arguably, a worse defensive team, and he just has better targets than either of these guys. Emeka Buka going at the 608. That is very interesting. Jerry Judy, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton. Yeah, I mean, I took Jameson Williams over DJ Moore in this one just because I felt that Jameson Williams wasn't going to fall to me. And Jameson Williams, I like the idea of having him and Amon St. Brown to pick up like almost, maybe even like half of the Lions touchdowns that we're going to see this year. But that's pretty crazy. If I got George Pickens, that would be great, honestly. I doubt I will, but you never know what could happen. David Montgomery and Aaron Jones, I'm not that big of a fan of. Tony Pollard, I am. The first two guys, I just feel like Aaron Jones, he's got Jordan Mason behind him. Jordan Mason could take away a significant chunk of the targets. David Montgomery, he isn't even the running back one on that team. He's behind Jahmyr Gibbs, which is going to hurt both of them. It could be the problem. It could be a problem, but meanwhile, we've got Tony Pollard on Tennessee. They might not run the ball as much, but they have no other great running backs or even like very good running backs or good. But here looks like I'm going to get George Pickens or Tedero McMillan. I'm going to take George Pickens here over Tedero McMillan. I'm not sure, but people will probably be mad that it took Pickens over McMillan. But at the end of the day, he could be like T. Higgins level this year. Jameson Williams, same thing. And then Mike Evans and Amon St. Brown are two A1 receivers. Aaron Jones goes off the board. I mean, if you think he's going to be a number one receiver for them by far, and you don't trust Jordan Mason, then that's a valid reason to pick him. But if you really do believe that Jordan Mason will be the running back one, then you shouldn't take him at all. You should just wait 5 rounds or 4 and pick up Jordan Mason. David Montgomery also goes. Tony Pollard is still available after all this time. I could get him as my running back 3 as kind of a safety for if Omarion Hampton isn't the starter week 1, if Najee Harris comes back from this fireworks thing. But Mark Andrews also goes, so that means that Travis Kelce, David Njoku, and Evan Engram are in that tier of tight ends and are still left. I might have taken Tedero and McMillan if he was still there, but I'll take Tony Pollard here, and I'm not at all sad about it. That he is the last clear running back one, and this is a great value at the 803. Don't have any players in my queue, but we're going to look ahead. We maybe get Evan Engram, David Njoku, Travis Kelce, one of those guys. And then maybe the round after that, we go for a second receiver. I like to usually play with where I get like an extra quarterback and an extra tight end on my bench just to have that floor if one of them gets injured or one of them isn't doing well. But I could wait till the end and get a guy like Brenton Strange for tight end or a guy like Bryce Young for quarterback. A lot of wide receivers are still available here. But one day I was helping somebody. Let me just tell you a story. One day I was helping somebody with their fantasy football draft, and they had somebody in their league, and that person was on auto draft for the entire draft. And their running back one ended up being Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, and their running back two ended up being Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not even joking. This is a real draft. And it was because the person couldn't make it to the draft, so they auto drafted. And usually, auto draft is supposed to give you even of each position. They're supposed to fill out your lineup, but their lineup was messed up. They got 7 receivers out of their first 8 picks, 7 receivers and a tight end. They got 2 quarterbacks, defense, kicker, and the rest were receivers. It was crazy. Travis Kelce goes. I doubt I'll get Evan Engram or David Njoku, but there are 3 more teams that don't have tight ends. All right, well, now there is one team that doesn't have a tight end, which is the team right before me, Matt's monstrous team. Michael Pittman, Jacoby Myers. I like Jacoby Myers there. That's a great pick. Cooper Kupp, everyone's picking him high because they want a bounce back season, but I just don't really believe it. I think that JSM will probably be the wide receiver one by quite a bit this year. My pick's almost coming up again after a bunch of receivers have gone off the board here, and but it's looking good. I'm hoping I get Evan Engram here, but this is the other team that doesn't have a tight end, and I'm wondering if they'll take Evan Engram here for me. I got Evan Engram in my last draft from the number 8 position, but I'm wondering if I can get him here, and I will. It's a no-brainer here. Got to take Evan Engram. Some of the other guys around him, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, I mean, they're fine. Chris Godwin injured. I'm fine with these guys. Joe Mixon's an interesting one. He started off at 45th. He's dropped to 90th. And at that point, does it become a value pick just because of what a good value is? I mean, he may be injured, but he's still going to be good. He's still going to be good once he's back. The Texans defense, that's an interesting pick. I don't know why you wouldn't take Evan Engram unless you're going to grab somebody like Tucker Kraft or Tyler Warren here on the back end. The Ravens defense also goes off the board. Both of these defenses have gone before the Broncos defense. It's a little interesting. You can get Ricky Pearsall here. Deebo Samuel is already gone, so if Ricky Pearsall falls to me, I'll take him as my fifth wide receiver off the board. The Vikings defense. All of the defenses are going. All the teams right around me have a defense, but I do not like to take defenses this early. So, and there's a lot of running backs. I don't really need a running back, so I'll grab Ricky Pearsall. Now, I need another running back, and then I need my backup quarterback and tight end. Also, a defense and kicker. Got quite a while until I'm back around again, but my lineup's looking good. Couple of people with bye week of 12, couple with 7. It's not that bad, but I mean, having Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams will certainly make things very interesting. Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown could take up almost half of the team's touchdowns. Very optimistic number there. But that would be crazy. That would be absolutely great for my team if they were to achieve that. But Mike Evans, and then we also got some other people on our team that could fill in, like Ricky Pearsall and George Pickens. But, I mean, all these guys here still around. Honestly, I kind of like guys like Tank Bigsby and people like Jordan Mason at this point, people with really high upside. Maybe if Javonte Williams falls, J.K. Dobbins. I'm not a big fan of Ramondre Stevenson, but Williams or Dobbins maybe if they fall. I doubt they will though, because there's 2 auto picks. So one of them will be gone because of auto picks, probably Dobbins. But either of these 2 guys, I might pick them or a guy like Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, Keon Coleman, or even Keenan Allen and wait for my 4th running back. I really like to go for this kind of 4 running back, 6 receiver, and then 2 of each of the onesie positions to make sure I have enough guys there. And lastly, I usually want to end up with 1 kicker in defense, of course. But I do 6 and 4 because I really like to play receivers at flex. Javonte Williams. Hopefully it doesn't go. Saw a late Travis Hunter pick. That was interesting. Not a big fan, but even if he does fall, then that's an interesting thing. Javonte Williams is still available, but it's a tough choice between him, Keenan Allen, and Josh Downs. All great. Keenan Allen, obviously, you can see the path for him. He's much more experienced, and that could take away quite a bit from who's the starting guy there? I can't ever remember his name. Lad McConkey could take away quite a bit of targets here. I like Tank Bigsby and Jordan Mason a lot more than the rest of the people in this area. Rashad White is another good one, but I think I will have the choice between those 2 guys. Javonte Williams and Zach Charbonnet both go. And I don't really need another receiver here. I like to pick Jordan Mason and Tank Bigsby because they have very high upside. Jake Bates goes off the board. But they both have really high upside. Jordan Mason could end up being the RB1 in this offense, this Minnesota offense. And Tank Bigsby's the starter in his. But with this setup so far, I've got 3 sure things. Or not sure things, but 3 very likelies. So I need to go for upside here, and I can get that in Jordan Mason. Another league, I had the same option, and I took Tank Bigsby. but that's because I felt less confident in my running back three to be able to hold up either way. Tank Bigsby goes. Probably going to want a quarterback. Let's see here. Bryce Young, I can pick him up at any point. A tight end. I really like Brenton Strange. And maybe also, I can never find him, but Mason Taylor, another rookie. But with Mason Taylor, he won't be picked usually, so you can just leave him undrafted. Same thing with like Chig Okonkwo, but you can leave them undrafted, and just if they're doing well, you can change them out for a guy like Brenton Strange if he turns out to be a bust. But my lineup's looking good. Only need a couple more picks to get the job done. Gonna go back to home screen. I also need a kicker and a defense. I really like the Patriots and Cardinals defenses. I usually like to take the Patriots because it gives me, even if they don't have a great week one, they have very easy games in weeks 2, 3, and 4. Whereas the Cardinals, it's more of just a good start for streaming defenses, as they have a very easy week 1 matchup. Tyler Bass is the kicker I want. We'll take Bryce Young. Tyler Bass should come around, but I mean, you never know, I guess. Got a couple of guys on my bench who are 14 and 10, but bye weeks don't really matter for the most part, as long as there's not injuries stacked on top of them. Still need a tight end. Could take Goddard or Kincaid, but I like the idea of Brenton Strange having insane upside. Just, you saw him without Evan Engram, who's also on my roster last year. When Engram wasn't playing, Brenton Strange was a menace. And I get that they added Travis Hunter, but maybe they just decide, we might need Travis Hunter to play like 75% offense, 25% defense. Even that, you just lost 25% of your fantasy production unless you're playing in an IDP league. And that hurts. That hurts your team scoring a lot. And to be fair, I'd much rather have the tight end in Brenton Strange, who will produce either way because he's basically the third guy on this offense. I get that they have a lot of running backs. They have 3. That's why I feel like Jordan Mason might be a better pick than any of the 3 running backs in Jacksonville. But like with any of the 3 running backs in Jacksonville, any of them could emerge. Like it could be Brayshaw Tutin, and Brayshaw Tutin's just roaring away. We'll take Brenton Strange here just because I feel like Tyler Bass should be available. Brenton Strange is one of my favorite tight ends to pick late. Same with Bryce Young at quarterback, one of my favorite quarterbacks to pick late. But got our defense already. Got the Patriots. So it's looking good. Feeling great. Got a good roster. If we don't get Tyler Bass, we could go for a guy like Matt Gay, maybe. Which, it could be good, but Hunter Henry goes. I really like that pick. It's good. Daniel's up, and then Jeff, and then we're up again. So wild how many people are on auto draft at this point. Don't even want to spend the whole draft. They don't want to spend the whole draft. They don't want to spend all their time, but hopefully we get Tyler Bass here. I'm not sure if Daniel's team or Jeff's team have their kickers yet, but Trey Benson is taken. Hopefully Jeff's team does not take a minute, but if If Tyler Bass is available, obviously take him. If not, that's where it gets tough. Nope, he'll take Hollywood Brown. And we'll get Tyler Bass, and that should finish up our draft. Bills, Jared Goff, Jake Elliott, Jason Sanders, couple of kickers to finish it off. Braylon Allen. And our last two picks. See who is taken. Fairbairn, Carlos Santos is the last pick of this draft. This was a great draft, but I'm just going to take this time to ask you to please like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot, and it will also let you get more great videos like these. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Fantasy First Down.